Welcome to Sparking Conversations, episode 3. We want to let you all know that we're going to do a $100 Bitcoin giveaway for 100 subscribers. So when we reach 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel, we're going to do a random pick. If you subscribe and comment, we'll connect with you and get your Bitcoin address and get you some free Bitcoin. So as it stands, I think now we're at 7 subscribers. So we've got a ways to go. Tell your friends and feel free to like and share. So what do you want to start with?
There's tons. Bitcoin price, that's what, 61,000 right now. Pretty sweet. Theta T-Fuel took off crazy to the moon.
T-Fuel, what do you know where T-Fuel stands right now? Last I checked, it was like 40 some odd cents. It might have gone down since then.
Crazy. Well, I got in at a penny, so it's kind of hard to not smile.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So Theta's up, Bitcoin is up. You called me
it's at 37 cents.
37 cents, and you got in at a penny. That's
the T-Fuel. I mean, Theta and T-Fuel, and I felt like I since you started doing this, I wanted to talk about Theta on here, so kind of did people injustice on getting them in. But that the NFT guy sold a piece of art for $69 million.
Is that the Beeple guy?
That Beeple guy, yeah. I got a leverage trade set up on Kraken for 5x, waiting to hit my targets. Pretty excited about that. And I got that computer on the way. I'm gonna set up a Guardian node and try to film it, and that maybe you can use it on here or whatever.
Right on.
And about 98% of the people out there have no clue to what the hell I just said.
So the Guardian node is going to be specifically for Theta?
Theta, yeah.
Yeah,
they got validator nodes, Guardian nodes, edge nodes, which is way more complicated than we should probably get into right off bat.
Yeah, well, we should definitely talk about Theta and a few other coins. I know we've been talking a lot off the air about stuff that you think is important as far as like opportunities, and I've been jumping on most of those. So we want to start with listener feedback. We actually got some comments, folks that are listening.
Sure.
And they're interacting with us, so we'll respond to their stuff.
Sure. One guy want to know about books, referrals of books, and there's a ton of good books. I think the Bitcoin Standard's a really good one, and that one will kind of really explain what Bitcoin is and how it works, and how it relates to gold. And it kind of gets into the technicals, so you get a better understanding of what blockchain is at its absolute minimum.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a really good place to start. I think everybody should read The Creature from Jekyll Island, so you understand really what money and the Federal Reserve and all that stuff is. And
what's that about?
The Federal Reserve and money.
Okay.
And banks, how they work and stuff.
It just has an odd name.
Bitcoins. Yeah. Well, these group of billionaires got together off the coast of it's like North or South Carolina. There's an island called Jekyll Island.
Really?
And yeah, and the Federal Reserve, they call it the creature from islands. That's where the title comes from. Anyway,
I guess that's fitting.
Yeah, like I said, the Bitcoin Standard is probably the highest recommended one that I could give you. Digital Gold is another good one by Nathaniel Popper. That kind of goes into more of the history of Bitcoin and what happened after it was put out there, the people that were involved, and then how it went into exchanges, Mt. Gox, and then the Silk Road, and all that dirty stuff that people still associate with today.
Right.
And how it kind of evolved to close to where we are today. So that's more of a touches on all them different things. The Bitcoin standards just give you a real understanding of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin Billionaires, it's about the Winklevoss twins. That's a good read. It's kind of similar to the digital gold book. And if more on the Ethereum smart contract side of things, the Infinite Machine is a good book. That's solely on Vitalik and his group of people, the Hodgkins guy,
Right.
The Wood, and
Did you see that Ethereum is way up today too? Speaking of that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
everything followed. Yeah, pretty exciting day for sure.
Right now, 1,922. Yeah. So that one's about
Ethereum. That'll get you more in the ballpark of smart contracts and understanding what the hell them are and how it works and how they started to build this program. The people that are involved with it and their
probably
a little bit of their background.
Probably the second most important concept about crypto right now is smart contracts. I would say, it's like blockchain, then smart contracts.
Yeah, it's probably the
Yeah.
probably the most important, really.
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme of things, looking out, beyond. But yeah, that's plenty to get you started for sure.
As far as I don't have time to read very much. I've been listening to podcasts. I don't know if you did. Were you able to listen to any of the ones that I sent you this week?
Oh yeah, I listen to everything.
Yeah.
At work, I could do my thing and plug in, tune out the world.
Between Two Chains is probably my favorite, and that's a relatively new one. That guy, I feel like he breaks it down to ways that I can understand it with whoever he has for a guest. So that one's pretty good. And of course, there's Bankless too, which kind of gives you like crypto news and whatnot. So, but like I said, my biggest informer of anything crypto is you. So,
no pressure.
I just go, hey Jimmy, what do you think about? Yeah.
All right. So that's the book things. The next, I gotta touch on the Elon Musk thing. All right.
Okay.
We had a comment. Elon Musk is not a rocket scientist, and I'm assuming that they're going off the point that he doesn't have a diploma or any documentation or says he's a. I was gonna take this a different route, but I'm not gonna be mean or anything. But
Okay.
I get where they're coming from, but I think, if that's the case, Eric Clapton's not a musician, doesn't have a diploma, he didn't go to school, he doesn't have any documentation stating any such claim. Jeff Gordon's not a race car driver, didn't go to school, doesn't have a diploma, doesn't have any document. I'm not an asshole. I did not go to school, don't have any documentation stating such things. But when you have a company that rivals NASA or is kind of on par with it, and there's 7.5 billion people that look at you as the most likely candidate to put somebody on Mars, it's kind of the Super Bowl of rockets science.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I get it. I think that comment might be rooted in the fact that, I think some people think that maybe Elon is manipulating the market a little bit. Like if he says Doge goes up, and he says Doge sucks, it'll go down. So it's an interesting game.
Dogecoin pumps.
Yeah, it's an interesting game to play. I have popular people that I don't like either. I'm not a big fan of the Microsoft guy. I won't say his name, but like he does things all the time in the name of progress, where I'm just like shaking my head. So I get it. Like when you have a lot of money, you get a big target on your back. And the response to one of my comments was that he married this girl that's trying to sell her soul in some art auction or whatever, and like that's cool. But my response was, like I have a couple of crazy ex-girlfriends, and like I can kind of sympathize, right? So
Yeah. Well,
um
I think that as you go, people kind of build this framework of your opinions and ideas and your view of things. And when there is like info or information or anything that's outside of that framework, you devalue it. And anything that falls kind of a little bit in that framework, like the crazy seller soul thing, you kind of push that to the forefront,
yeah,
you know. So it doesn't that there's a small video I'd like our people to put in the link
sure.
to, and
Yeah,
and I'm sure that they'll poo on that too, but
we will
you
link that.
can't deny that there's some rocket science going on there.
Yeah,
You can deny the character or whatever.
well,
Yeah.
we're not really podcasters either, but here we are.
No, not at all.
So
Yeah. And that
yeah,
that comment was the smartest guy in the room, pointing to the so so having said that, you could possibly be talking to the dumbest people in the room, because we do have documentation for that.
yeah. So we have documentation that I won't say which is which, but one of us graduated number 42, and one of us graduated number 43. So I think
Yeah.
it's funny because
But I don't think you're seeing the forest through the trees. That's kind of irrelevant to the
yeah.
to
I
the
think my biggest thing with like Elon Musk, because I don't put the guy on a pedestal or anything. I think he's undoubtedly smart. Like when you listen to him talk, there's a lot going on there. Um, I like talking about ideas, and that's kind of where I'm at lately. Like if you want to talk about people and crap about people, I don't have time for that. But if you want to talk about concepts and bigger things that can move us either forward or even in a different direction, okay, I get it. We are headed in a direction right now that I'm not sure that anybody anticipated with all the changes that we've had in the world in the last year. I don't know where it's going. But that's part of the reason why I'm here talking about this, is because this, blockchain technology is going to be a part of what's going on. Like whether we like it or not, whether it's good or bad, it's a thing. So that's where I'm at with it. So our
All right.
last, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, one more comment, I guess. Time for all right, this guy's kind of throwing out hard questions. What's the difference between smart contract and application? I don't claim to know everything, but I'm going to do the best that I can. Okay, smart contract is there's a dude named Nick Szabos that kind of come up with that term. And, well, he gets credit for it, I guess. Whether he did, well, that's speculative, but he gets credit for that term. And actually, like MIT, what they teach in their blockchain is in their class. Smart contract was the best definition that they had for it was a digital promise on a virtual platform. That's their definition of it. And the difference between a smart contract and an application is a digital contract, or dApps even. There's a difference. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of the application. dApps is short for decentralized application. So there are applications that are decentralized, there are centralized applications, and then there's a mixture, kind of if you want to get super technical, you can have some smart shit. I don't know. You give a all right. Well, back in the day, you had the cigarette machine.
Yeah.
In the bars and stuff, you put your money. That's like the simplest form of a smart contract. There's no middle mediator. You know what I mean?
Right.
You or a vending machine. Aside
Right.
from your M&Ms get stuck hanging there, that's more of a mechanical thing. But
Right.
just think of you know what I mean?
I have a
Like a
Bitcoin.
cigarette machine.
I have a Bitcoin transaction right now that's hung up like a bag of M&Ms, so I get it.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to. I was going to touch on that too. That was the other part of her question.
Okay.
But I'll
Oh,
finish with
right.
this. The smart contract. Like I said, the smart contract is one. Once you have it on there, that you could have like a few smart contract application units into a single application. An application is more of a broader thing. Like a Facebook is an application on your computer or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
A smart contract is a very specific thing that can't be turned around. Once you have the smart contract, you better make sure that the info that you have on it, because it's
Correct.
not right.
Yeah.
It's not
Because
reversible. But
because
the
you're not going
application,
to hack that, right?
right,
So
right,
you can
and
hack
there's go
you can
ahead.
you can hack an app. You can't hack a smart contract.
Some apps, decentralized apps. Uh, Most decentralized apps have their own token. Okay,
Okay.
like apps, they're
Right.
built off Ethereum, or
Right.
that's how they start, and they have their own token, and they're using Ethereum for the smart contract. And but go back to the cigarette machine, and this just give you one. That was like the most primitive form of smart contract, because if you popped in your money, you fulfilled your side of it, pull the lever, it's coming out.
Right.
And the reason why they took them away is because we don't like kids to have cigarettes. And it didn't matter if it was you, me, an 80-year-old man, a 4-year-old kid, or a monkey on the other side of that. The cigarettes coming out as long as you fulfilled that. And imagine that in the same concept applied in a different application, that where it would be beneficial. So if you're selling cigarettes, it's not beneficial for that smart contract to be there. But if we applied it in a different application, like in voting, and then all of a sudden race and gender don't mean nothing.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who's pulling that cigarette lever.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
And I'm. It's a very complex, complicated question, and I appreciate the hard questions. But think of like smart contracts as like individual Lego pieces, and the application is the little house, and
Right.
you're using. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, with the chain smart contract, if the freezer truck goes below or goes above 32 degrees, a chicken's no good. So that smart contract, made the whole application null and void kind of thing.
Right.
So I gave it a shot and tried on that one. I hope it answered his question. If not, again, comment
Decentralized
below. We'll try
accountability,
again.
basically, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. But an application is more of a broader term. The smart contract can be a very specific. And the other one was back to the Elon Musk. The other part was the Bitcoin transaction taking two days or whatever.
Right.
And I don't believe we ever said that Bitcoin is going to be used to buy your coffee. Maybe someday, and there are stuff in the works called uh, actually layer applications, and there's second layer things like the Bitcoin, the Lightning Network that we can go into someday
Right.
if you want. There's what you call wrapped Bitcoin that also solves that problem if you
I've
want.
seen so let's talk about wrapped Bitcoin for a minute, because I've seen that and I have no idea what it is, but it tracks the price of Bitcoin side by side.
Yeah,
So
because it is
it is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, but it's wrapped. It is one-on-one, kind of almost like a stable coin that
Okay.
rides along Bitcoin that's wrapped in Ethereum. So Ethereum, it's wrapped up into a smart contract that you can send it in, and I'll send it to you, and you're like, oh, I got my Bitcoin, and
Yeah.
you go about your business till and then the real Bitcoin shows up an hour later. But as far as the 2 days things, there's a few things about that. One is I personally never had anything last more than like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And the more people that are in using Bitcoin, the slower it can get.
Right.
And the smaller the transaction, I could see like I just feel like it's probably less to do with Bitcoin and more about the platform that's being traded on, probably. That'd be my first thought. Secondly, is it prioritizes like if you're sending $100,000 in Bitcoin, the miners are on top of that, and
I
they're
can
going. If
I
I'm
can
sending 75 cents worth of Bitcoin, that's not prioritized, so that
right.
could possibly take a couple
So I can
days.
give kind of a case in point here, and I'm gonna admit my own mistakes. So I was transferring $500 worth of Bitcoin into something else, right? And when it left my wallet, it asked me what fee I wanted to pay. And I've always gotten away with paying the lowest fee. So this time I selected the lowest fee, and guess what happened? And now it's hanging, right? And it's been hanging for like
It's hanging.
48 hours, but it's my fault because like I tried to move $500 for I think $1.10 or something, right? I was like, ooh, $1.10 on
Yeah.
500. That's great. No, it's terrible. Like if I wanted that done, I would have paid the transaction fee, you know?
Right. And there comes a point where that's not really relevant. You're not going to pay $10 to send $2, you know.
Right. So I'm kind of living with my own consequences at this point. But the other thing, if I'm going to transact with you, right? If you and I are going to do trade back and forth, like I have a plan later this year that I'm going to sell something that's really rare right now to a bunch of people. Um, it's not going to be Bitcoin. And maybe it'll be Bitcoin. I don't know. But for the most part, like when I use Litecoin, when I use Bitcoin Cash, anything like that, that's what I use for my transaction stuff is like something that's,
Yeah.
like
You,
almost
you,
immediate.
you should send me you should send me an address, and I could
Okay.
send some crypto over live so they can actually kind of see what
So what do you have any preference on what it is?
we got Stellar. Want to do that?
Okay. I have
But
Stellar.
just show them like cryptocurrency as a whole. You know what I mean? Bitcoin.
Well, it's a big fish it's a big fish in a big pond, but there are lots of
Yeah,
little.
it's more onto the digital gold thing again. You know, it's not. It's still a million times faster than gold.
Yeah.
You know, I
And
can sit a chunk of gold on the computer and show you.
it's that
You
store of
know,
value, right? So
right?
hold on, let me get into I am using Exodus,
Yeah,
by the way, and
it
I
don't matter. Just text me a Stellar wallet, and I'll send you some Stellar, and people can see in real
okay.
time.
So I'm gonna hit receive, I'm gonna copy, and then I'm gonna get on here and I'm gonna text you. There's the Stellar address.
Yeah, I already got it.
Okay, good. In the meantime,
But uh, I don't believe Bitcoin is going to be the everyday thing, and it might be because it is upgradable. Like I said, the Lightning Network thing is a really kind of fascinating thing, and that's based off of parachains and stuff like that. We can talk about that sometime if you'd like.
parachain. What are parachains?
Okay, Bitcoin being the most primitive of all blockchains is just a single layered, and that's why it takes so long, because it for security purposes it waits for 6 blocks to be mined,
Right.
or they're like, okay, enough people agree that this is the right transaction, and that's the security. That's why it's so safe, because it makes security more of a priority than speed or anything else, you
Right.
know. And parachains are kind of are smaller blockchains that like a single block of Bitcoin, they'll have many chains coming off the side. So picture trying to paste your wallet in here, bud.
What's that?
Trying to paste your wallet in here.
Okay.
But picture how's the best? All right, you like analogies. Picture like a really old man with a walker, and he's got to cross a football field. Okay, he's got to stop at the 10-yard line, the 20-yard line, the 30-yard line. He's got 10 stops to make on the way down. That's Bitcoin. Okay.
Right.
So while Bitcoin is stops at them at 1, 2, he's going slow or whatever, and he's only got to make them 10 transactions throughout the whole day. These parachains are like having thousands of Usain Bolts, right?
Going
and making all these microtransactions, and they're going by and they're bringing it all to that 10-yard line so Bitcoin can pick it up, and then they're off again, and they're doing that. You know what I mean? Is that a good analogy?
Yeah. I mean, now that, sending back and forth is kind of newish to me. I've always just kind of held wherever it was. But using wallets and paying for stuff and whatever, it definitely gives me an appreciation for faster coins, but that's not why I hold Bitcoin, right? So I don't plan on transacting much in Bitcoin. I plan on holding it. I am transferring something now and learn my lesson,
I gotta turn on my wallet to you.
How's Stellar doing? Since we're talking stuff, 40 cents.
Like,
what's that?
Kind of just trading sideways right now.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
You ready?
Okay.
Hold on. I'm gonna send. I send.
There it is. Done.
That
was quick.
3 seconds.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah. We could have done it a hell of a lot faster if we had everything all set up and stuff. So I hope that makes people see a little bit of what, you gotta give me my $5 back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No, you're good, dude. Good. But that kind of serves that shows them the
I'll trade you some Tron.
Tron. I mean, you gotta get out of that stuff.
Well, so yeah, that's one issue that I'm
big in like investing. I'm big in investing in people.
Yeah,
is a big part of my. If I really kind of get a good vibe off guy, and they're like a heart, that Justin Sun guy.
He's kind of a turd.
A little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
He is. My big thing right now is that's on Binance, and you can't I can't do anything with Binance right now. I think I have to use a VPN to get in there to pretend I'm from another country and then transfer it out. So the VPN thing I think is in my future.
Oh, yeah, well, you got it if you got good funds on there.
Yeah,
I was scared to that. And back in September when I think it was September. Well, after this whole crazy illness thing happened, they were really ticked off with China there for a while when Trump and all that stuff still in the White House. And they put a line in the sand saying Binance after I think it was September something. So I was like, no, I ain't taking the risk.
Yeah.
I know they got Binance US and stuff, but still, I just didn't want anything tied to any of it.
My big issue with that is that Binance US doesn't have, they don't offer the same amount of coins that Binance does. So why?
Of course not.
Right now, as far as I'm concerned, Voyager is where it's at for me. You turn me on to Voyager, and the user interface, it's way better than Coinbase. It's way better than Binance.
That's another thing we got to talk about, and make sure you keep mentioning the Voyager and the link, because
Yeah.
we're going to give that money right back to them.
Yeah.
And right now they just up all their interest rates. You're getting not just 9%, you're getting 10, not just 8%. You're getting 9% on USDC. You're getting 6.25% interest rate on your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I think it's like 5.5% for Ethereum. You're getting 8% on DAW. I mean, why people have money in the bank is beyond me. I don't understand that.
Well,
why you wouldn't take advantage of that?
That's one thing that,
and just figure on the Voyager, if you got your money in Bitcoin, and you know the whole Warren Buffett, that compounding effect.
yeah,
You got your money on Bitcoin, they're paying you interest on Bitcoin, and the price of Bitcoin's going up. So it's like that compounding effect. And fast forward,
you're cashing in.
you know,
That on Exodus and Voyager, that's like I've honestly I've started buying some coins just for that. It's like, okay, well, if you're gonna pay me money, sure, yeah, I'll park some cash there, you know. So
why not? I think the best way to invest in Voyager is to at least meet that requirement to start getting that interest rate, and then if you want to target other coins, you know, start doing that. But at least meet the interest rate.
do you know what the minimum is on Voyager before you
For
qualify
Voyager
for the interest rate?
the Voyager token itself, or
Yeah.
I think it's 500.
Okay.
It's quite a bit. But that wasn't nothing when it was a penny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why. And they lowered that too. That was 1,000, or it started off with 10,000.
Really?
Went to 1,000. Now it's at 500. So I'm
I
assuming
imagine
that
it'll continue to drop.
they'll
Yeah,
move that goalpost at some point.
Voyager right now is at $5.04. So
yeah, that's the buy, man. That's the one. Nobody's looking at it right now.
yeah. Well, you know what? So for people that don't know, can we talk about who started Voyager? It's the same dude that started E-Trade, right?
Yeah, Alex Fajinski, or I can't remember his name, but yeah, cool dude. I watch him sometimes.
Yeah,
Smart guy.
I think Voyager's podcast is called The Golden Record, and I sent you the link to that podcast, and that's a good one too, because he really kind of breaks down what their motives are and how they're operating and whatever. And I thought that was just really good.
Well, there's a guy that I watched a little bit, digital asset investor, Digital Dan or whatever. He has a show. He's on there quite a bit. That Trade the Chain.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty tight with him. They have him on there once in a while. So whenever they have one thing that kind of made me feel even more comfortable about it is when all that GameStop stuff was going on.
Yeah.
And then all these people just flooded Voyager. Voyager was down. That's when you were trying to start your account.
Right.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
He was straight up and went straight on. Now, how many people own these exchanges, you know, and actually put their face on some nobody's YouTube channel and kind of explain their position and what happened? Nobody. So that makes me feel pretty comfortable with them, you know.
Well, you know, that brings me back to like 2017 when Coinbase, every time Bitcoin was doing either a screeching rise or a dramatic fall, it's like the first thing we all try to do is log in. And of course, Coinbase was like, you know, just basically croaking.
They were still doing it this year.
Were they really?
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no need for that at all. No. I got my own theories. I think that they got all this traffic going on, then they like hold 3 lanes back. Yeah. Like waving their people through. And then okay, you can go. You're like, well, geez, the price already dropped $800.
Yeah. Well, it happens. It happens pretty fast. Like this morning, I think Bitcoin was like 58, 59, and now it's like at 61. So, you know, if you hadn't texted me, I wasn't even thinking about it. And then I was like, holy cow, look at the rise on that. So
yeah,
I wonder,
not toot my own horn, man, but I said down 42. And when it stalled and they hit the ceiling, I was like, if it breaks past that what was it at the time? I forget. Anyway, I even texted my brother. He's like, "What do I do?" And I'm like, "Just hold, relax." I said, "It's gonna break that. Once it breaks that resistance, it's going straight to about 62, and it's gonna take a break."
Yep.
Where we're at right now, man.
Yeah, you
So
called it
I
for
got it.
sure.
So I got my 5x leverage trade all set up. It's ready to go.
Really?
If it breaks 62, yeah, if it breaks 62, I see it going up to make a good trade.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
are you still tracking the same numbers you gave me this week on that? Like, where do you think the kind of the stall out point will be on that?
Yeah, I think it'll slow at 70,
Okay.
because again, we're at that round emotional number. I never looked at the charts today because I was so busy doing other things, but I'm pretty confident if it breaks 62, it's gonna pump a good amount. Even if it's three, four, $5,000, that's at a 5x leverage.
Yeah.
You do the number.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I have friends that don't even own crypto that like I'll get a text and they'll be like, this 60,000 business, what's that? And I'll be like, that's the all-time high. And then the next day, I'm sure I'll get more. This 65 business, what's that? And it's like, yeah, it just keeps going. So
I was I was in Walmart today, and I was walking through the tool section in the automotive. I had grabbed some oil, and I heard some dude in the back on the phone just Bitcoin. What's going on? He was talking to his buddy about Bitcoin. I was like,
yeah, it kind of makes you want to stop and talk to him because you have that thing in common. But um, it's good to see. So let's talk about this. This is what, like, I keep seeing these headlines about, like, Michael Saylor buys however many million more Bitcoin, right? And you see this institutional money coming in, but like the swells in Bitcoin don't necessarily follow that. So my question, not knowing anything, is when somebody's buying millions and millions of dollars of Bitcoin, like, that's causing it to like slowly rise. What's causing these big rips? Is this like, I'm sure it's the stimulus right now, right?
that was like the key reason why I'm longing,
Right.
on this next phase, because people are going to get the stimulus. So some of that money is going to go in there. There's no question.
Yeah.
So if the technicals look good, the fundamentals are good, and the government gives you free money to do it, it's
Right.
like, on. I mean, why isn't everybody doing it? I don't get it. To answer your question about the the price, Michael say, but we're still mining 900 Bitcoin a day. So if the price was 60,000, for it to stay flat at 60,000, the market's absorbing 900 Bitcoin a day.
That's a lot.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what's the price on it? What's 900 times 61,000?
I'm not sure that my calculator will do that, nor can I. 900 times. Okay, so 54,900,000 per day. So yeah, okay, that makes
That's just
sense.
to keep the price flat.
It's coming into the
That's
market
just
going
to keep the
up.
price flat. And then
Now,
the miners sit on that sometimes. The miners are sitting on it, like they have two pool and stuff like that. They're liquidating. There's gonna be a supply crunch. There's gonna be. And I can show you charts later on that shows Bitcoin miners kind of ballparkish of what they possess. And then I can show you other charts of coins that are on exchanges like Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, BitMEX, whatever, you name it. They all have Bitcoin, and that supply is going down, for the
yeah,
first
well,
time ever.
so when you get this institutional money coming in, you have people that are holding large amounts. So yeah, that stands to reason. My other question
And
is
then
how much.
occasionally you have people that have had it, that they're called the whales or whatever,
Yeah.
and some of them people bought in at 2,000 or whatever,
Yep.
and they're going to look to take profit.
I actually met the earliest adopter I've ever met today, a guy I was talking to, and he bought in 2014. And I have no idea how much he bought. I didn't ask, but I'm like, so that's like 3 years before all, like I kind of feel like in 2017 everybody kind of, the light bulb went off and everybody started to understand it, but I'm like, this dude was in it in
Not everybody.
2014. Yeah, exactly, because now people are getting in as well. But I feel like there's a great awakening in 2017. I think we're seeing another one now. So, you and I have talked about the philosophy of early adopters to Bitcoin and crypto in general, and how many people won't even own a tenth of a Bitcoin at this point, or won't be able to, because it's 61,000. Sure, there might be some people that can, shell out $6,100, but I think the number of working people that can actually cough that up is pretty small, so
Getting smaller and smaller.
yeah, so we're reaching a point where I think people won't even be able to buy a tenth of a Bitcoin, which is really interesting. Interesting when you break it down. It's like, oh, so when when people were worried about missing out at 10,000, it's like, are we going to be saying that about 50? Are we going to say that about 60? Where does that stop when all of a sudden, I think $60,000, people are going to look back on that and go, man, I wish I would have bought one at $60,000, even though the piece that you're buying is tiny in comparison to where we were buying at 10, you know?
Yeah.
Like when I tell people the first time
No,
I
but
bought Bitcoin was at 6,000, people are like, 6,000, how much did you buy? And it's like, not as much as you think, because it was a risk.
yeah, the comments that like if people were going to critique my comments, I messed up a couple episodes ago when I said it's for like 46 million millionaires, and that's true. And I said just the US, that's not true. It's like 20 something million. I think it's like 21 million. So there's not enough Bitcoin for every millionaire to have. And if you have 0.28% of a Bitcoin mathematically, that puts you in the top 1% still of people that could ever have. And that number is much lower because you got the Michael Saylors and the Elon Musk and the grayscales and people like that have accumulated massive amounts. So that 0.28% dropped dramatically.
Wow.
So I don't think it's never too late.
Yeah.
There's some of these companies that are never going to get rid of it. I believe, not in their lifetime anyway, because they'll just borrow against it. Like if you owned a piece of Manhattan, you can sell it, just borrow against it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's what the Michael Saylor guy says, and it makes total sense to me.
yeah, I mean, it's a similar thing to, like, when you have a big old farmhouse and land, if you want to do some dramatic whatever project, barn project, you don't sell the land to build the barn, you take out a second mortgage or something, whatever it is, a home improvement loan, whatever goes on there. So NFTs, we talked about NFTs a while ago, but that seems to be all the rage this week. You want to talk a little bit about those? We mentioned
Crazy,
Beeple.
isn't
Beeple at
it?
the yeah, Beeple kind of, like a week ago, I had no idea who Beeple was, and now Beeple's like in every headline I see, selling art.
I knew who it was, but for him to sell, I think it was $69 million for that piece
Yeah.
of art. Anthony Pompliano, you ever watch him or follow him at all?
No.
No, he's a good one. He had him on a while ago. Uh, yeah, dude. I mean, the NFT art thing, I do believe it's a speculative bubble right now. I'm not saying the NFTs are not good. I mean, because they are like super good, but people are going crazy over them. It feels like the ICO back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, the what the hell is his name? The Twitter guy. What the fuck's his name?
Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, he made an NFT out of his first tweet,
Mhm.
and it's already up to like a couple $1 million for buying it.
Didn't
That
didn't
Beeple's guy, he now
didn't
the Sun guy,
yeah, Justin Sun, Tron.
he bid on it. He got outbid.
Yeah. Did he really?
Yeah, yeah. And now he put in 2 million, and they're up to 2 point something million now. But anyway, that Beeple's guy people that don't know, he's an artist that digitally makes art and then makes an NFT token, puts it on a blockchain and sells the art. And well, he made, I think it was like a thing of 100 small art like cards or something like that back in October, and sold all of them for $1 each. And that was the end of October, dude. We're sitting in March, and then things are going for like 300 grand.
Really?
It's
That's insane.
crazy. That's
Well,
why I'm like scouring like OpenSea and Rarible and stuff like that. And I was trying to get my hands on something that has just for his name. I'm adding to the frenzy,
you
you know.
know,
But
well, I mean, like Picasso used to pay for his breakfast by doing a sketch on a napkin, right? I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that one time. But here's a cool thing that I heard about that this week is that I don't know if Beeple's doing this or not, but artists, when they do an NFT, can set it up so that every time a transaction happens and it sells from person to person, they can get a percentage for their
yeah,
lifetime, right? So,
every time that's resold. So
right,
I make a paint and I put it on a blockchain. I sell it to Mark. I get that initial
whatever
fee,
it
and then
is,
Mark needs
2%.
some money and he sells it. I get 2% because of the smart contract. I get 2% for the rest of my life whenever that's sold. So why would
Well,
they not put
and
art out there like that? You know,
what a cool
you're
thing
incentivized to do it.
what a cool thing for like a legacy inheritance too. It's like, okay, well, I'm passing on now, and as part of my will, I'm going to leave you this address where like basically royalties coming in for the rest of your life, and you're going
Yeah,
to leave that to somebody else too, you know?
exactly what. And you called it. We gotta. I'm glad I thought about it. Remember the comment about Keith Richards and the Rolling Stone?
Yeah,
It's like a week later at the Kings of Leon talking about their uh tokenizing their next album.
right.
Good call, Mark.
They made an
They were
NFT.
listening to they
You
were
know,
listening to the show.
that's well, I wish I would have known because I probably would have bought into it. But
Right?
you know, I think the implications for the arts are enormous, and I keep talking about this, and I won't repeat myself, but I just think that there are major opportunities for the way that we receive entertainment. Like one of those podcasts that I sent you was talking about, and I think we chatted a little bit on text about this, about like becoming a video game NFT dealer, right? Which is hard for me to wrap my brain around, but the thing that I say to my kids all the time is playing video games is a waste of time, right? What are you gaining from that? And it's like now, if let's say I don't know video games, World of Warcraft releases one special sword. Let's call it the Dave sword, right? You know, if you get this, you're the ultimate
Yeah.
Dave. So you get that Dave sword, and they do it for one day, and you can lose that Dave sword, or you can keep it. All of a sudden, maybe you can like tokenize that and be able to transfer within a video game to somebody else, right? And all of a
It
sudden
has value,
it
digital
has
value.
value, right? And there's also the discussion of digital land inside of like Minecraft ecosystems, or whatever you want to call them,
There's
where it's like,
already a platform called Sandbox, and then there's Decentraland that they're doing. Actually, the guy that I'm glad you brought that up. That Beeple's guy that made them cards, or
yeah,
he had another line of cards like that. And there was a guy behind the scenes that bought every one of them cards and then wrapped that all into a smart contract and bought a piece of land on that decentral land and had like a museum. So you got to be on that decentral land, and he's got a museum with that Beeple's art, and that's valued at something crazy like $40 million now, dude.
so he built a virtual museum.
Yeah, out of that
Like
guy's art.
this is the part where like I think about
And
this. So that there's a very good part of all of this, and there's a very bad part of all of this, and I've been really dissecting that in my head because like my battle with my children has been get off video games. If you want to farm something, I'll show you how to do it. Come pull weeds with me, right?
But we're gonna eat it when we're done.
And now it's like, old man, I'm telling you, this is my part-time job. This is my side hustle, right? Like this is going to happen. And I worry about the productivity of people. Like, is it going to just drop down to nothing? You know?
I think a lot of it right now, people are just experimenting
Yeah.
and stuff. And I see the
Like crypto kitties, right?
right. Yeah. That's see if you have this platform like a World of Warcraft or something that people can wrap their heads around, right? Or picture like the Call of Duty. That was a big thing when my son was younger. We used to play Call of Duty on
Right.
the Xbox. And imagine playing Call of Duty and you have this platform that this is like the war zone or whatever that you guys play in, you shoot and whatever, and you're able within that digital platform to put up a billboard that says sparking conversations or whatever. You see how that has value though.
Yeah.
It's hard to wrap your head around and you're like, what the hell these idiots talk, but then you put it in certain terms. Like every once in a while I'll get a little thing of like, oh, all right, I kind of see the value in that. And you got millions of people playing this video game. You
Well,
see
that's
how
the,
that
that's the thing, especially with COVID. Like, so I used to live in the Denver metro area, and driving through Denver, you'd see billboards, right, along the road. But like one thing, so I live far away from there now. I live in a very rural area. And I think to myself, like as I was driving to work when COVID hit and they were shutting everything down, like it was creepy because they were like, there's nobody on the road, even in my podunk area, right? And I thought, okay, well, what you just said with the billboard beside I-25 in Denver, how many people weren't seeing that during COVID, right? They were staying at home, and more people would have seen the World of Warcraft or what the Call of Duty billboard than would have been seeing it beside I-25 because people are engaged, you know.
oh
So
I can see it, but I struggled with it too on trying to figure out how the hell a digital land or digital platform like that was going to have any value. But I do believe that it's blown out of proportion right now. But
yeah,
it's because of this. That's where the term speculative is. People are imagining all these things and piling into it, and everybody's going to have it. And I think somebody at some point is going to be left holding the bag, saying, "I paid
I,
$4 million for this Pokemon card." And
yeah.
and I'm stuck with it,
Well,
because it will come down. I think
but
calm down.
just like anything, you have to explore it. Like I remember um back in the 90s walking into my brother's place, and he had a DVD player, right? And he had a
Yeah.
DVD. I think he had a Sega Saturn, and I think it played DVDs. And I could be very wrong on that, but around the same time, he was doing things with DVDs and CDs. And I remember walking in and thinking that will never take the place of VHS. You know, go figure. And the same with DVDs and CDs. Like at the Jack Spirko from the Survival Podcast talked about um, access over ownership, and that really struck hard with me because it used to be I had my CD collection, Jimmy had his CD collection. I remember your CD collection, and it was great. Um,
Pretty sweet,
it
wasn't
was this
it?
pretty awesome. So, like, and thinking to myself, I would never give up my CD collection. I paid so much money for this, and to actually be able to grab whatever it was and put it in. But now it's like I can't do that with this, right? I can download it all to my phone, but then it clogs my phone. But like, for my birthday last year, my in-laws made me a playlist on Spotify and sent it to me. And I was like, I had that thing on repeat because I loved every song on it. It was really, really good, And I'm like, there it is. Like, I don't have to own that CD. They don't have to burn that CD for me. I have access to it. So access over ownership,
It's a
which,
it's it's a different. I mean, I think we are in that awkward. At least I am, because you have a nostalgic for the physical media,
yeah,
and then but we live in a world where you can see, like, I was talking to a guy at work and he was going on the same concept about gold, and I was explaining gold and or Bitcoin. He was gold, I mean, physical in your hand, and talking about how Bitcoin solves some of the problems of gold. And one of them was the take $200,000 worth of gold and see how far you can carry that up the hill. Well, the same thing was like, he's a big uh, uh, books. The audio books is just another example of digitizing, like a library. You know, like I got, I literally have like 70 something books on my phone right here. You know what I mean? Imagine carrying 70 something books around. I need a wheelbarrow and it,
probably a spinal correction too,
right. It's
Take
just,
back.
you can see the problems that it solves, from that perspective. Even though I'm not, I don't really necessarily want to give away my books.
No,
I mean, the physical books, because
yeah,
I still am a little, I like the physical media. Like the same thing with the video games. I was like totally, they're like, no, just download it. And I'm like, no, I want it on because what happens if that platform or that server goes down? I don't have that game anymore.
right.
If I
Yeah.
want to go back, play Contra, got it in my hand, and I could throw that bad boy in there and relive your childhood or whatever.
Right. You know, that's holding my CDs. Like, I actually had a millennial get into my truck about a couple months ago, and I had my CDs in there because I still have my CD player because I drive a truck from 2000. I still have a tape player in my van that's also from 2000, and like, he was like appalled that I had CDs in my truck, and he's like, "Why aren't you just listening to your phone?" He's like, "You can plug it right in." And I was like, "Actually, if you look, there's no auxiliary plug on that CD player." And he was just like, you know, there's so
Even plugging the phone in is old. It's all Bluetooth now.
I know, and I can't even do that. But um, there's so you and I are now in our early 40s, and I'm starting to feel like people are calling me boomer, but like, I'm an
Yeah.
Xer, right? So I'm trying to keep up, but I think that's part of what we're doing here, right? Is trying to understand the world that's rolling out in front of us, and it's not a bad thing.
Well, unfortunately, I think that we're farther along than most other people.
Yeah,
Even people that are younger than I am, they talk to me, like, help me understand. They see that something's going on, and I think that that's just going to escalate as time. Like millennials, where this is the first time, like we're the last generation that was born before the internet or
yeah,
or all this electronic digital stuff. These people know nothing but. I think the kids today are going to be much more comfortable, with cryptocurrencies than they would be gold and silver.
true. Yeah, because that's kind of the landscape that they grew up in. Um, I like to tell stories about pre-internet with the kids that I work with, because like my right hand man was born the year that you and I finally graduated, right? So because we stayed back. So so that's the thing, is like, I try to say, I try to put everything into perspective for him, because I'm like, you got to understand, man, this wasn't always here. And if for some reason it ever gets shut off, you got to figure out what to do. But with with NFTs, I just think I think people are trying to shine light on every corner to see like what's of value and what's not. And I think out of that, we're going to have a lot of changes specifically to the entertainment industry. And I think ownership of things. I think NFTs, because correct me if I'm wrong, but like, okay, smart contracts and NFTs aren't that dissimilar, right? So like when you
No.
when you tokenize your house, is that going to be an NFT that operates within a smart contract, right?
Uh, well, I don't think a lot of people even know what NFT is. It stands for non-fungible token, and basically, uh, what people that don't know what fungible is like that's why currency is current. Like a dollar is a dollar. Each one looks alike. They're the same thing. Bitcoin, okay? Each Bitcoin is valued the same thing. They're the same identical thing, or what you know what I mean. They could be traded. They have the same valuable. That's fungible. So to have a non-fungible means that each one is not the same. Each one is one of a kind.
Right.
So by doing that, yeah, I mean the things are limitless to have a non-fungible token onto a smart contract or a blockchain, and you can tokenize nearly anything, really. You can tokenize anything. I'm starting to wonder if people ain't gonna start tokenizing themselves for Christ's
That's
sake.
that's exactly what I was going to say. So let's explore that for a minute. Is that is that a bad thing? Like I haven't really explored that in my head, but somebody said that to me earlier today. When do we start tokenizing
Really?
people? Yeah,
That just
yeah,
come
yeah.
out of my head. I didn't know
No,
they're
it's pretty straight
tokenizing selling everything else.
because he said it to me and like it hit me, but we are rolling in a conversation,
It,
so I really didn't get to flesh it out. But it's like,
in a way, it's happening already, and I'll tell you how is through like medical records and your, I believe your social security number and stuff will be
all tokenized.
at beck and call whenever they want it, or if you need it.
That is the thing that makes me nervous about this, and
Yeah,
I think that I want to talk about that too, and maybe we won't dive that deep, but the kind
go
of
with
the darker
go with the
side of it.
cons. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
and maybe we'll do a whole episode on that. But you know, you remember Mr. Marico, our grade school principal? He used to bring us in, and I know that you know this probably better than I do. When you got in trouble, you went
Blue
into
book.
the blue book, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mr. Marico was this very sweet man who was our grade school principal. He was just this like massive dude. When you're little, I mean, he probably wasn't that big, but when you're little, he seemed really enormous. And he had a very gentle, demeanor to him. And he would bring us in when we did something wrong, which Jim and I were both there at various times. And he would say, "Listen, you've done something very bad. I have to write your name in the blue book, and this is going down on your permanent record." And I remember as a kid being like, "No, you know."
It's gonna
And
be in there forever.
but then I went to, "Wait, is this going to affect getting into college?" And then I was like, "Oh, I'm probably not going, so it's okay." But there's this implied authority thing of having a permanent record, and I'm sure that the blue book is gone, right? But I'm worried when we start tokenizing things about ourselves,
Out there forever.
what happens? Yeah, that's kind of a disturbing thought, but maybe yeah. So disturbing from one point, but positive on the other. Like I got into genealogy for a little bit, right? Because my family goes back in our hometown. I think I was sixth generation before I moved away, right? So we have seven, we might be up to eight generations there now. Um, the guy, the guy that settled. So my grandmother is still on the same homestead that was settled in 1860 by my great 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 grandfather. I think that's right. I know nothing about him, right? Like there are rumors that and I was talking about this with somebody else today too, that he was considered a bastard, like he didn't have a father, which back in the 1860s was a big deal, like to not have a dad and be born out of wedlock. But he traveled from Scarborough up north and basically carved out his living and got to shake that because his reputation where he's from was that he was a bastard, but up there nobody knew him. So that's what I know about him. But like the complexities of who he actually is, they're gone. I don't know if he had a heart condition. I don't know if he what his favorite color was, any of it. And there is a piece of that appeals to me. If you're gonna, maybe that's not tokenizing a person, but tokenizing information, genealogy, stuff like that. But again, it runs into, okay, well, we have genealogy, you know, what if we make a mistake on where the line goes or whatever? How do you correct that on the blockchain? But I guess you can mark for those corrections somehow.
Well, seems how you brought up some of the things that why it wouldn't work, or some of the downfalls to it that I thought of or think of is obviously is like blackmail or ransom and stuff like that. Your Bitcoin, if somebody, once you send a transaction, that's it. There's no
Yeah.
getting back.
Right.
There's no I could be sitting right there looking at you. You can't get it back unless they give you the private keys to it.
Right.
So that was, and of course the 51% attack. Everybody goes back to that. That's getting less likely. And
So
what that is, go ahead.
let's talk about a big elephant in the room. And I, like I said, I think we've kind of taken a turn with this episode, and maybe we need to stop. But I just want to go one more thing. Let's talk about Satoshi Nakamoto, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and how many Bitcoins does he hold?
Millions.
Yeah, I think he
I think
printed
it's
a
somewhere
million
around
for
the $1 million.
himself.
It's
Yeah,
a
so
million.
I think he printed a million Bitcoins for himself, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he started mining it because you had to get the system going,
Right.
and he started mining it. Back then, when you first got it, you were rewarded with 50 Bitcoin every
Right.
10 minutes.
Oh,
It was 50 Bitcoin, 50 Bitcoin. So everybody thinks it's just a pool or a wallet. It's not. Every Bitcoin, every 50 block of 50 Bitcoins is a separate wallet
right.
that kept getting added to the blockchain. And they're still just sitting there. Every once in a while, some coins will move from 2010 or whatever, and everybody, oh,
Yeah.
freaks out,
Well,
panic.
that's the thing. Like I've got a buddy that I send those links to, because that's been happening a lot lately, where you'll see, I think there were 7,074, was it 7,000 or 70,000 Bitcoins moved, right, by this ancient whale, and it just went to a wallet. I think I sent you that link too. And it's like, there's this like old world mystique that like weirds people out when that happens. It's like, oh, who is this guy? And it's probably just some dude in his basement. You know what I mean? Going like, oh, I'm a billionaire now, but
I would think that either the Satoshi guy is like the most stand up, humble, good for all mankind kind of person, which is extremely unlikely.
yeah.
Or he's probably passed away. He's not. I mean, there's like three. Actually, you mentioned one of them was the Nick Sabos guy. A lot of people look at him like he possibly could have been Al Finney. I think is probably the most likely guy. He accepted the first transaction,
Right.
Bitcoin. He was the first kind of banter over the internet with the Satoshi guy, and he passed away of Lou Gehrig's disease. And there's one more guy.
Well, there is a guy that has the last name Nakamoto and a middle name Satoshi.
Yeah, and that adds to my theory because that guy actually lived a few blocks away from Hal Finney. So that could have been somebody that Hal Finney just seen and was like, kind of use his
name. Okay. That I was gonna say,
I mean?
I didn't know if they were both in on it. I was gonna be like, what are the chances that two people that smart live that close to each other? Like I'd be suspect of that. But I don't know, like, growing up in a small town, we had our local celebrities with less than stellar reputations. And what did we call each other when when we were making fun of each other when we were kids, right? Those names. It was like, oh, you're I'll just make one up. You're Dave Peterson, So it could have been as simple as that. This guy going, oh yeah, you're a real Satoshi Nakamoto over here. So who knows? Nobody knows. But
Another thing is quantum computing. Is at some point these computers, the way that they talk about how quantum computing works and stuff like that, and the really smart people in the room kind of look at that as kind of a concern on being able to attack Bitcoin someday down the road. But if it gets to the case where if quantum computing was a threat, our traditional financial system
would also be
is screwed. Is
right.
Screwed.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's like our best our best defense against that anyway.
Because it's already ahead of that system, right?
Yeah, I don't want to speak false stuff, but I think it's like 4 trillion. Basically, when a block is mined, okay, when Bitcoin starts mining and people are doing it on smaller computers at home and stuff, the blockchain puts out like a mathematical equation, and the only thing that your computer is doing is throwing out guesses. Is this the combination? Is this the combination?
Right.
Is this the combination? Is this the? And eventually it guesses it. And the more computers that are added to that network, the more computing power, the larger that mathematical equation gets. It's a self-leveling kind of system. So the harder them equations get. So the more computing power that gets into it, the larger it takes. And so I think it's like or something. I almost want to say quintillion tries. So pretty much all the computing network that's on the Bitcoin network throws out so many quintillion different guesses before it gets it, and it still takes 10 minutes for them to get the block. And then once it gets the block, it goes 6 blocks down for it to agree that yep, Joe Schmo is owed the reward for that. So quantum computing is a threat, but I think it's kind of it's up for debate whether or not on the security side of it, if Bitcoin will be able to level that out or whatever.
Well, and when it comes down to stuff like that, like we can talk about all kinds of scenarios on what happens or what could happen. Like that's like the what ifs kill me. Like, what if that takes place? Well, there's danger, there's inherent danger in life, period. If you're that concerned about all financial systems going down, then you need to be buying seeds and land and learning how to grow things and kill things and eat them on your own, yada yada yada. So I think we can focus on what works right now. You can always be diversified in what we're prepared for and go with that, So anyway, what do you say we wrap up? Unless you got something else you want to cover?
No, we should touch on Theta. Seems how we're
right.
I really want to get into that at some point.
Okay.
And we can save that for next time, or touch on it.
So for those of you out there, let's give the elevator pitch for Theta before we go, and then we'll get deeper into it next time around. So elevator pitch for Theta, you've already given it to me. It sounds legit to me. What do you got on that?
Theta is kind of a blanket. Going back to the NFT things, this is another thing with the Theta. Theta, for people that don't know what Theta is another blockchain-based token, and they have the Theta token. They have T-Fuel, which is the utility token that's used on the Theta platform, and they both incredibly spiked this week. I was on the right side of that, so I'm one of the fortunate ones. But basically, what it is what it started out being is a smart contract that utilizes broadband. And you see the world that we live in today, what we're doing right now, Netflix, YouTube, Zoom, everything. There's so much broadband, video games, Twitch. These guys have a way of making broadband a hell of a lot more efficient for pennies on the dollar of what these large platforms use right now. And we can go into that further down the line. But they also have they're starting they're they're gonna have a swap, kind of like the simple swap that I pointed you towards.
Yep.
They're gonna have an exchange like that. Have NFTs, and I think that they're gonna have a little bit of an edge on the NFTs because they are able to do this during the auctions of the NFTs. So they're gonna have like an NFT, say that like that Beeple guy has a new piece of art that he's auctioning off. That'll be auctioned off on Theta, on their Theta TV, so he can talk like I'm the guy that's got the art, and I'm like, hey, glad you're bidding on my piece of art. Good luck to you. But you see how that can kind of get them in the front,
Yeah.
a little bit.
The people
It
involved,
helps people interact with that auction. You're gonna be able to interact better with that NFT auction.
so and the people involved are Sony, right? Or a guy from Sony.
Oh yeah, the validator nodes. They have like 3 different tiers of most people don't know. There's proof of work and proof of stake. Old dinosaur stuff like Bitcoin, Ethereum are still kind of proof of work. Ethereum's working to move to proof of stake. They kind of did, but they're not quite there yet. Theta is definitely a stake in blockchain, and they have validator nodes. Validator nodes are like the very top. Yeah, I think it's a minimum of 1 million or 10 million. I believe it's 10 million data token to run a validator node. And I mean, at what's $6 a token right now or whatever, 10 million tokens, do the math. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So Google has they're partnering with Google's running a validator node. YouTube, Sony is running one, Samsung. There's rumors that Samsung and Sony are going to have it integrated right onto their TVs that they're coming out with.
Right.
They're partnered with the one of the dudes that are on the board with YouTube, like the co-creator or whatever. He's on their board, and he talks very highly of it. The guy Twitch. I know you're not familiar with video games,
right?
But Twitch is probably the most popular video game streaming thing platform. They're on board. They're partnered with them. So they have validator nodes. Then the mid tier is going to be Guardian nodes, and I'm going to be setting one up on a new computer that I got, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. I kind of leaned back and forth on because they have a thing called G Pool that is you can stake your Theta on there as well, and I guess you get the same amount of rewards. I don't know, or you could do it yourself and run the Guardian node, which I want to do. But if your power ever goes out or anything, there's different risks and stuff. Because like if it goes out, I'd have to redo the whole blockchain. I gotta like start validating the whole blockchain to get back to download it all, get it all set back up again and stuff like that.
So
and there's there's validator node, Guardian node, then there's gonna be edge nodes. And edge nodes, it's not too late to get an edge node. And that's basically staking your T fuel, earn T fuel. And I hope that someday we get to move this platform that we're doing right now over to Theta TV.
Right.
And you can get paid T fuel. People watching it, they get paid T fuel.
Right. And now I think this is going to be our first episode that links to Odyssey too, because Odyssey is similar, where it's a video service based on on blockchain, and you can get paid in whatever coin it is that they have too. So, well, I think we can explore that a little bit more in the future. but you are gonna film setting up the node.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not hard. It's
Okay.
not hard at all.
Good.
I'm gonna have a separate computer. I mean, I was gonna do it. The more I looked into it, the more I researched it. You need at least they recommend at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. But so I want to way overshoot that. I'm gonna get like 32 gigabytes, but I'm just gonna run it on a separate computer because if I run that and then try to do stuff like this.
Right.
Yeah, so actually, I'm buying two computers. I'm gonna run the Edge node, then I'm gonna buy a setup for this so I can go over charts and we can go over news and
Cool.
whatever. Try to make it a little bit better on here. And uh, uh, they recommend hardwiring it. Like if you got broadband uh, internet, if you can hardwire it in, that's a
Right.
better way to run that node. No big deal, but well, I'll
Opportunities just the same.
yeah,
Yeah,
I got big expectations for it. I really do. I
so
believe that there's only 14 validators ever.
really.
And if you, I know I've been preaching about this, but if you guys want a good buy, I I'm still really bullish on Theta because if you if they have like 10 million tokens per validator, them tokens are never hitting the market again.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're
They're
never going to
locked
be
up.
sold.
Yeah.
They're locked up. And I can show you on, through the graph, I can show you that like, I think it's like 54% of Theta right now is already locked up.
Well, and the trick right now, just on the consumer level, is that Theta isn't super accessible. It's not like on Coinbase or Binance US or anything like that. It's on Binance, but not Binance US. So, my thing is if I can get a coin before it hits one of the major exchanges, I feel like there's value in that because when it hits the exchange,
Yeah.
generally you get gains.
Used to
So
call it the Coinbase pump. As soon
yeah,
as it hits Coinbase, boom, you get
boom,
that
there
bump.
it goes. So I bought Theta the other day after you and I talked about it, and you actually warned me a long time ago. You were like, you need to buy Theta. Like our first conversation, you told me to buy Theta, and I think it was like $3 a coin or something. T Fuel was like 16 cents or something. But so one way that, or the way that I did it was to go to simpleswap.io. And you're the one that told me about that. And it's a decentralized exchange where you can say, I'm going to send X amount of whatever it is, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever. And I want X amount of Theta, which,
Remember when you were struggling on getting it to work?
yeah,
It wasn't working. It's because they were out. But basically, what Simple Swap does is they take tokens from. They're just a middleman.
right.
They have a direct connection with like Binance and you know what I mean. So they get their tokens from that. Binance had to unstake like 5 million tokens. I
Because they
still
were because they were rolling, right? Like everybody wanted to buy.
everybody wants Theta and they
Yeah.
didn't have any left. Like shit, we're gonna unstake it to
Yeah. So
fulfill.
that was my issue. Just so people know what we're talking about. I was trying to go on Simple Swap and it was saying pair not supported or something like that. And then like Theta, I had it literally at like 5:45 p.m. I had Theta ready to go. And then I got up and I did something. I came back and all of a sudden it wasn't an option anymore. And I was like, what's going on? So I'm texting Jim. I'm like, what's happening here? But I figured it was some sort of demand issue. So if you're going to use Simple Swap, I did it first thing in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, because I figured that's when traffic would be the lowest. I was doing it before work and it worked out fine. And Jim, you suggested the Trust wallet for it because it doesn't have a ton of wallet support at the moment, correct?
You got the Theta wallet and Trust wallet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They're the two ones.
the Trust wallet, I actually really like the Trust wallet too. I think that's a good one to have. So all right, so that's the elevator pitch for Theta. Maybe we'll both tear that apart. Maybe we could do like Theta and Odyssey, or like some sort of like entertainment type stuff next time.
Sure.
So that'll be, as far as I know, next week. In the meantime, if you folks are still listening, use the code MEHSR8 when you sign up for Voyager. And then when you spend $100, you get $25 in free Bitcoin, and we get $25 in free Bitcoin. And when we hit 100 subscribers, we're going to give away $100 in Bitcoin. So
Can't link that in the description below.
we will, and we will catch you next time. Thanks.
All right, bud.